The time is 13 minutes past 7. A possible Brexit, is that ahead? We'll get more of the views of UK business now from Tanya Beckett on that, Tanya.
Yes, well, the insecurity, good morning once again, of leaving the European Union could help stimulate Britain to improve its stature in the world. Now, this is the view of the co-founder of the Bristol-based financial services firm Hargreaves Lansdown, Peter Hargreaves. And of course, those opposing any such Brexit, such as the Stronger In campaign, say leaving the EU will put jobs and growth at stake. But I asked Peter Hargreaves, what does he think the compelling reason is for Britain to leave the EU?
I honestly believe that the EU does nothing more than make life more difficult for everyone. The regulation and legislation is really very, very cumbersome.
But it allows companies to trade with each other freely. That cannot be described as making life more difficult, surely.
No, I'm very pro a free trade area. In fact, I did vote for a free trade area, and that's what the common market started out as. It was called the common market for that reason. But we didn't believe at that time we were going to get political union. A free trade area is marvellous, and I don't see why we wouldn't have a free trade area if we left.
So you are very convinced then that if Britain left the EU, that we would very quickly be in a position to replicate the trade deal that we had with the EU 27 times over?
Guaranteed.
Why are you so convinced
Well,
of that?
can you imagine if they put up a trade barrier and we would reciprocate immediately? Just imagine the 3 phone calls that Angela Merkel would get the following day from the chief executive VAG, the chief executive Mercedes and the chief executive BMW.
Well, indeed, but these take time to establish, and that is the concern, is the uncertainty in the intervening period.
No. In the interim period, there wouldn't be time to have trade barriers put up. We would continue as we were before.
What do you think it would do to our ability to strike trade deals with other countries? I'm thinking China and India, for example, if we were not part of the EU. Surely trying to broker these deals as part of a larger bloc is an easier thing to achieve.
No, absolutely not. When you're a part of a large bloc, you've 28 different countries input into the negotiations. When you negotiate on your own, you have only one country to put in the negotiations. You can sit down at the table with the Chinese delegation and decide what it's going to be. Whereas in Europe, they sit down with the Chinese delegation, then they have to go back to 28 countries and ask them what they think. And they all want to make amendments, so nothing ever gets done. I mean, that's why we have this steel dumping in the UK and the whole of Europe, because actually the bureaucrats in Brussels haven't been able to get any agreement on how we stop dumping of steel. That's why we're closing our steel mills. They're not going to stop trading with us because they sell us more than we sell them. People ask me what's going to look like when we leave. Well, very little different, except we will have more freedom. And I think we will do well in talking back to the Commonwealth, looking at all the new emerging markets, because Europe
Why would the Commonwealth be an obvious place to look?
Because they speak English for a start.
Mm-hmm. But if that was the case, then why would Britain not refocus its efforts there anyway?
Well, again, when we're trading with the Commonwealth, we still have to rely on Brussels for setting out the framework.
And what you're saying is we would be allowed to set out that framework, and you feel that Commonwealth countries would be receptive to that?
Correct.
How would Britain, in terms of trade, how do you think it would adjust outside the EU in the next decade or so?
Well, I don't know, but certainly there is a demand for things that are British. We do well with our fashion and our brands. I mean, I know most of the car manufacturers here are not owned in Britain, but people covet Range Rovers, Rolls Royces, Bentleys and Jaguars, and so those will still do well, and it doesn't really matter that they're not owned by British. I mean, Ford has always been built here, and that's always been owned by the Americans.
The co-founder of Hargreaves Lansdown, Peter Hargreaves.